Yeah, I think you're live. I think we're live.
Are we? Yeah, do you see our faces?
It's your faces on Facebook.
Uh,
On
yeah,
Facebook.
yeah.
Let me check.
No, it's not for some. Oh, there we are. Cool. All
Nice.
right. I think we are live. So let me just go ahead and check my phone. Just all right. Let me go check my phone real quick, just to make sure that you can actually hear us. All right. Looks like Santi is here watching with us. So, dude, if you are still here, let us know if you can hear us.
Live.
Other than that, yeah, then we should be good. Welcome to Automate Your Agency Show, episode number 12. We are so excited to be here. We're so glad that if you are watching live or if you are watching replay, you're gonna have a good time because you're gonna save a lot of time by watching these shows. And before we continue, we do this show every single Tuesday, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And the whole purpose of this is to show you the automations that we have going on at our agency, plus the other agencies that we are working with. And when I say automations, it can mean a whole lot of things, right? It could be Zapier automations, it could be Integromat automations. Heck, it could be you delegating out tasks to your team members and your partners, because that's a misconception, right, Reynard? Like
Yep.
most people think that automation is just like, Zapier integration stuff, but it can mean more than that, right? It could be automating out to people.
For sure, for sure. Yep, exactly. And although Zapier has like kind of owned the word automation, I would say, but yeah, like even delegation is like a sort is it's kind of like automation in a certain degree for sure.
Okay. So I love this show. I love this particular show because I think a lot of agencies struggle with this particular issue. And we see Pete kind of here. Hey, Pete, what's up, man? Good to have you on here. And I love this particular topic because whenever you kind of close a new client, it's always exciting, right? It's always, it gives you that thrill because like finally you close the deal, there's revenue
Mhm.
coming in, and there's this opportunity to help someone. But more often than not, I see this happen with so many agency owners that excitement slowly fades away, right? As
Yep.
you kind of get this client, because there's this kind of dread because you actually have to do something. Well, surprise, surprise, right? You actually have to do something after you close a client. And most of the processes that agencies have after they close a client is, if they're working alone, they scramble having to kind of get everything together. Or if they have team members, they send them a message in Slack saying, hey, we have a new client, do this, that, and that. They send an email, they send a WhatsApp message, a line message, whatever it is. They're sending all these messages. And the issue is, and I think Rena talks about this a lot, is if we close another client, it's the whole same process again. And now it's that dread on top of another, dreadful client. It's like, how do you solve that? And I think this is a great show because we use this system in our agency and other agencies to really just get, add method to the madness, right? Whenever you onboard a new client. And we're going to be showing you in this particular episode. We
Yep.
use Asana, and we use a couple of, cool automations to really make sure that you save a ton of time, for preparing for new clients. And what we found, like quantifiably, you're able to save about 1 to 2 hours per client, kind of with this automation. We're also going to teach you how you can use Asana to prepare project plans and actions ahead of time, right? You're being proactive about you onboarding new clients. And you can bypass Zapier's limitations and duplicate projects in Asana using Zapier's code function, which is a little bit advanced. But again, that's why you're watching this show, so you can learn this. So, with that said, if
Yep.
you want to watch our previous episodes, check out the unit section of this group if you want to learn all the other stuff. But we're going to go ahead and just start with this one. Reynard, I hope I gave you, kind of like that good introduction with this Zapier thing here, with this
Yep.
automation thing here. But what did I miss, man, with that?
No, should be good. That should be good. That's a basic it. We're gonna cover how we can prepare projects ahead and like really cover that problem of like once you onboard a client, you're the one who still gives orders to everyone kind of thing. Because in the end, that can be like a set list of tasks, a checklist, even if you can think about it like that, that your team or yourself can go through. So yeah, so let's just dive right in, right? So how
Let's
this
do it.
really starts is through Asana. So if you don't use an Asana, that's fine. This concept kind of applies no matter what project management software you use. I'm sure other software has a way to do what we're gonna do here. You just have to look for it. But yeah, we're gonna be using Asana as our example because we use it. We use Asana like the most, right? So let's start here. Let me share my screen.
And by the way, if you guys are watching live, let us know live. If you're watching the replay, let us know replay. Because if you do, we do send you the actual Zap that we build out on this show.
Yep, for sure. So yeah, so how we always kick things off is that we use Asana, and if you know this view is in Asana's like teams. So you're gonna have a team in Asana, you can create projects, right? So what we always do is we create a project that's sort of like a template of what we know a client usually goes through. So we create a new project, and then let's create a blank project for like template, client template, and we call it something like that, client template, right? So then what we do is we outline basically what are the steps that we take a client, like once they are enrolled or once they come into your program or your service, what do you do, right? So you just have to think about it first, and usually we don't we don't recommend doing it on Asana itself because it's like, you want to kind of organize it first before you put it in your project management software. We do it in a Google Doc, but just for simplicity's sake, we're just gonna put it in here. So maybe what the first thing you're gonna do is make sure the Asana project's set up, right? So just make sure like administrative wise, like everything's good. So you're gonna have like set up Asana project, and maybe if you use our like one of our shows previously, we talked about like the enrollment form. So if you use that, you know that once the welcome email is sent out, if or if you use a welcome email, your client is now has the link for the onboarding form and like the onboarding call. So maybe another task would be to like follow up on onboarding call, because like now that your client has it, now it's on you to just like chase them down and make sure they fill it out, right? Then maybe after you get the information here, now you're gonna do your onboarding call. Maybe you're gonna start research, start market research or something like that. Start market and competitive research. So you just gotta think about like what are the things that I do on a day-to-day basis, and like once I onboard the client, like what are the steps I take to start market and competitive research. And then for us, I think we after that we um, do research on the client's product and company or something like that, and then create big ideas and angles for ad creatives. Then we create copy, create creative. Let's just keep it simple. Create copy and creatives for ads. Set up campaigns. So again, I'm just doing like a brain dump of like what are the things that I do, what we do as an agency once a client comes in. Again, the idea here is that you set it up ahead so that once your client comes in, instead of you telling your team like, hey, can you follow up on the onboarding form, hey, can you start market research tomorrow, and the form is filled out, you have this list ready, and you can just like assign it to people once you're good to go. Like once the client's onboarded, you just like assign it to myself, I'll assign this to Fran, I'll assign it to whoever, right? So that's kind of the idea here. So we're gonna work out of like the a template we already use. So let me just pull that out so you guys can see it. But
So
the
I think the big thing
but
here, like for anyone that's watching, right? You want to kind of look at the past and think about how you onboarded clients in the past. And a
for
big
sure.
misconception that a lot of agencies make is they try to copy other templates, like other people's processes, which is fine if you want to model something, but you always want to add your uniqueness into it. Like, how do you actually onboard clients? And you want to turn that into a list, like what Raynard just did here. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah.
Yep, for sure, for sure. So yeah, so let's say example. This is usually the shell. So we call it a shell. We don't really call it template, although we wrote template here. We call it shell to our clients because it's like Fran said, it's we don't really just give this to you and like you set it up, because it has to be customized to your agency. So we got it like after we put this in, we ask you like we have to edit these depending on how you do your onboarding in your agency, right? So example, we have this template. So what we want to get to is that once a client comes in, we want this to be duplicated. And then let's say name it new client, right? And then we want that new client project to be ready, so that once as you've onboarded the client, you already have all these tasks ready, like the set of steps that each client goes through before, like as they lead up to launch, right? So that's kind of the ideal place we want to be at, where um this is created once your client is onboarded, right? So as you can see, it's been created, and now manually at least, and now I can assign it to people like, hey, Renat, you can do this. Fran, you can set up the campaigns. Let's do it tomorrow, kind of thing, and so forth, right? So we have other automations on how to kind of like make sure that these are assigned to the right people, and we'll cover that in a future show. But for this show, like we just want to explain that concept of having a list ready on a project management software so you can then automate your delegation. So even your delegation of tasks, people think delegation, yeah, delegation is automation, but even the act of delegation can be automated or can be taken off your plate, right? So that's kind of like what we the goal of project management software. It's removing that need kind of like think every single time about like what am I going to do next, right? You want to get as much. Of course, there's going to be a few things that are going to be added here and there, but you want to get as much as possible into the software so it's off your mind and you can use your mind for more important things, right? So now the big question is how do we duplicate it? So let's go to Zapier and like figure this out, right? So how
That's some advanced stuff, man. Like you're delegating out the delegation. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
delegate the delegation, right? So, so let's get into Zapier. And what we want to build is usually we trigger this duplication when a client is enrolled, right? When a client comes into our program, and how we almost always set up these automations is through forms. So once a client is sold to our sales team, they're gonna fill out a form. So it's gonna create the project, create the folders, and whatnot. So I'm just gonna create a quick form here to simulate that experience. So it's called the enrollment form. We actually have a show already that covers the enrollment form and like creating Google Drive folders and stuff. So check that out if you haven't yet. I think that'll help you like understand the other moving parts of this thing. So you got the business name, right? So let me see. And let's just do this just to keep it simple. And then I'm gonna create a response sheet.
It's always nice to say, you can watch our previous show, right? It means like we've done a lot already. Um,
Oh,
and
sorry.
yeah, like a lot of these things that Reynard is showing, you can just go ahead and check out the unit section for all of you that are new in this group. I think if you're on desktop, like you can just go up to the top, and if you're in a mobile, I think it's on the top as well.
Yep, for sure. So let me put task client right here and submit that form so the data is inside. So you can see. So let's create the Zap. So let's do a Google Forms. Oh, let me call it something else so I can find it. New response in spreadsheet. And choose my account right here.
By the way, we had a couple people hop on here. Jay, Andres is here. William, Santi was here a while ago. We have Sandra. Thank you for watching us. Forrest, Pete. Hope you guys are enjoying this so far. Again, this is so much different from all the other shows out there because we actually show you the build out of this, right? So you can take this and go crazy with your own automations.
Sure. So that's the enrollment form, pretty standard Google form trigger or whatever form you want to use. So let's bring out Asana, right? So the thing about the Asana integration is that there is no duplicate project step in Zapier. So there's no way to duplicate a project inside Zapier. What you'll have to do is like create a project and create individual tasks. So imagine that if you had like 30 different tasks in here, you're gonna have to create a task for each. Your Zap is gonna be really long and really complicated. So what we did find out is a way to duplicate it through Asana's like what we call API, which is accessing their backend or like their application programming interfaces, which is what API means. So instead of using this Asana step, we're gonna actually use a webhook. So let's delete this, and we're gonna use a webhook. So what's a webhook? You will need a premium Zap. I think you're gonna need like I think starter is enough. You're gonna get 3 premium apps on starter on Zapier. But basically, a webhook is a way for you to access another software's backend. So software applications like Google, any software, Asana, Trello, whatever it is, they usually have an API, which it means application programming interface, which allows external users, meaning not their company, to do certain things within the software without accessing their software, right? That's what they call exposing API endpoints, meaning, example, they expose a URL, which if you send data to through like a webhook, that's what webhook means. Um, you're able to let Asana or that software process that data and do an action based off that data, right? So what we're doing here, since Asana does not have a duplicate function in Zapier, what we're going to use is Asana's API, which does have a duplicate function. So we're going to grab that function, send it some data through this webhook step so that Asana can perform that action even if it's not integrated in Zapier. Right? So most people don't know this, that you can do this for with Asana projects in Zapier, but here you go. so so we're going to use a
Awesome.
custom request. That makes sense, Fran? You have any
It did, man.
questions?
It's really like, thinking out of the box here, right? Because like, and it was smart because like for Zapier, they're getting paid by the number of tasks that you do, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
maybe, is that like one of the reasons why, like, instead of you duplicating a project, like, they're having
Mm-hmm.
you create all these
I'm not sure.
individual.
I
It could
have
be,
no
but
idea.
like,
Yeah, Zapier's kind of, so Zapier has the most integrations out there, but like it's for some of their integrations, I think they haven't updated in a while. So like they're just cruising. But like other platforms like Integromat actually allow you to duplicate now.
mm,
So it's I don't know Zapier. So we're gonna use this custom request. We're gonna use the post method, which basically means we're sending data to Asana's API. And URL is basically what is that API, what we call an endpoint that we send data to. So for Asana, this is their, we just like, we read through their documentation. So you don't have to. So we just grab this URL and it looks like this. Let me see. Okay.
so the
So,
URL is kind of like where you're sending it to, right? Like,
yep.
kind of like the end destination. Okay.
Yeah. So you're sending the piece of data. You're telling, that's how you're communicating to Asana that, hey, do this action. Right. So that's why you see in this URL, there's this word duplicate.
So is it different APIs, like URLs for different
Ish.
actions?
Yep. Yeah. So if you want to create a
Uh,
task, I believe it's like Asana API tasks and then create. Right. If you want to mess with themes, it's like themes and then edit or something. So again, you're gonna have to go through the documentation of Asana to figure this out. But keep things simple. If you want to duplicate a project, all you need is this line, right? And what you're gonna swap this out with is the project ID. So the project ID you can grab in your Asana template, and this ID here in your URL. That's basically the ID of the project. So we're gonna copy that, go back to the automation, and swap this out. Okay. Next up, you can leave this blank. Next up is the data. So again, this is something we just built ourselves. So you can just, for now, like copy paste it. You don't really have to understand it because it does the same thing across every single time. But this is what we use to, let me change here. This is what you're going to have to put inside this data set to be able to duplicate a project, right? So this is like telling Asana, hey, duplicate the project and with these parameters. And if you notice a while ago when we duplicated this, we actually were asked the same thing. What do we include? The task descriptions of the task, the subtask. Do we want to include them when we duplicate that? Do we want to include the tags, the attachments, the description, and so forth? So that's the exact same thing that we're doing here. We're telling Asana through their API, hey, include the members, the task notes, the projects, the assignees, and so forth. Right? So once it's duplicated, all those data is still there. Right? So, and then we can set the project name here and we can do that dynamically. So now since it's in Zapier, we can delete this and then we can add in the business name that we filled out through the form, right? So this is like, you just copy paste this and we'll send this to you if you comment like live below. So,
nice.
so this is, that's that. And then next up, you're gonna do some usual authentication, which is like just standard for webhooks. There's not really much here. Like I don't understand this. I just know it works. So we're gonna click another item here, and we're gonna add an authorization. So for this one, so one question you might think of is like, if anyone can do this, how does Asana know it's gonna be on your account, right? Because if Fran sets the zap up, will it be done on my account too? Or if you the viewer, you're gonna set this up, will it duplicate my project if you get this ID? Maybe some of you are just copying the ID as well. You're gonna be duplicating my project in my Asana account. Is that gonna happen? So the answer is no, and that's done through the authorization, right? So every Asana account can create unique authorization tokens. that tell Zapier or tell whatever service that, hey, you're allowed to access my account, right? So you can do this here, going to Asana, go to your profile settings, go to apps and manage developer apps. So we're getting kind of deep in here with the dev stuff. So you can see we've tested a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna create a new access token, and let's call it AYA number 12. I'm gonna disable this right after because you guys are just gonna use it. And like,
That's true, man. Maybe one
so
of these
create.
guys over here that's watching is just doing the exact same thing you're doing right now, right?
So you're gonna create token, and you wanna copy this number. Don't copy mine. Copy your own. See, that's why this is very sensitive information. Like you can't even see it after you get it here. I can disable it, so that's not a problem. But then just letting you know. So okay, so we're gonna go here. We're gonna put that token right here, and we're just gonna click continue, and that's actually it. So if we take a look at the team that this is in,
So wait, what does that enable us to do? Like we can duplicate the project, but no one else can, sort of thing?
it kind of tells Asana that, hey, duplicate it in Reynard's account. Meaning, look for this
Mm.
Asana project in Reynard's account because there's like a million Asana accounts out
Ah,
there. So how will Asana know it's this one, right? Again, this isn't like a usual Zapier step where you're told to choose account, right? If this
right,
were if
right.
this were a normal Zapier step, this is the choose account step. This is what basically Zapier does in the back end that we don't see. To choose an account, it basically creates an authorization token with the software,
Gotcha.
right? So let me see here. Let me click continue. So if I click test and review here, ideally what's gonna happen is it's gonna duplicate this project. Oh, let me delete this then. This project and name it test client. So we don't have test client here, so you can visualize that. If I click test and review, there you go. Task client was automatically created, and all the tasks inside will be created as well, right? And that's done automatically. So now earlier we had to manually like click here, click here, click here, and duplicate. With this one, you automatically duplicate the project so that you no longer have to create that on your own. And it's such a simple step, but it removes another this 5-minute task that will get in your way, especially as you grow. Like you don't want to be like, oh, you closed someone and you enrolled someone, and then, oh, I gotta go into Asana and like duplicate this project and assign it to people. Like you don't want that. Ideally, once you close someone, everyone knows what they're gonna do already. Like you don't have to do anything, even yourself. Because the idea here is to delegate the decision making either to your team or to software. That's really it, right? So what can you do to do that? And this is one of those ways. And even if you're a one person team, you don't have a team yet, this is so good for you, because you don't have to think now. Like once you close someone, you don't have to think like what's next. You just open your Asana account, like, oh, I have a task for tomorrow, I have to do this for the client. Okay, I'm gonna do it tomorrow, right? So you now no longer have to like think, and that's the goal. So you can use your thinking for more important things, right? So, Fran, did that make sense? Do you have any questions around the Zap?
I love that, man. That I think that hit home a lot because, like what you said, I feel like there's this progression that happens, right? Like, I can think of it in three ways. Like, one is whenever an agency closes a deal, they're having to do everything. Everything's everywhere, and maybe their to do list is on a notepad somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And then they soon realize that okay, this isn't scalable. They think, okay, I'm gonna use Slack. I'm gonna start sending my team members messages whenever we close a deal, and then we communicate through there. 80%, 70% of the agencies I see, they use that method. But then
Yep.
again, your messages they get buried in all these Slack messages. So they realize, okay, I need a better solution. So maybe they start going to Asana or some project management software, and they create the tasks there. Some even go as far as they have these templates that we're talking about. But the
Mm-hmm.
issue is that they're having to duplicate it, like what you said. They're having to tag team members, and sometimes you can forget, especially if you're closing deals every single day, right? And all that
Yep.
work can get piled up. Like what you said, it might take 5 minutes, but that 5 minutes can throw you off from all the other things that you're doing. So the
Sure.
next step to this is this particular kind of automation, right? Where you simply just fill up an enrollment form and all of that that we just talked about gets created. And we can even get more advanced, maybe in the future show, or if you check out agencyrocketfuel.com, if you're interested a little bit with working with us, we can go as far as automating out, the delegation of this task to whoever is responsible for it, setting up due dates, making sure all the assets are there. That's like the future of it. And we've done that not just for ourselves, but for our clients. And it's just an amazing feeling. I think one of our clients, with this particular step, he closed two clients on a Friday. And instead of working over the weekend to fulfill for that client, he just played basketball over the
Isn't
weekend.
that the dream?
That's the dream, man. And
Yep.
it's like, that's why I love this so much. So makes perfect sense. Makes perfect
Mhm.
sense. If you're watching live or replay, just let us know.
Yep. And just to wrap this up, I'm gonna just show you how it would work. Like filling out the form. So let's say you have a new client and their name is let's see what I have right in here. Borfin Trading. I have this receipt right in front of me.
What?
Borfin Company. Yeah, I have no idea what Borfin is. That's interesting.
Poor
So we're
Finn.
gonna click submit right here, and let's give it a few seconds because Google Forms take probably 5 minutes to run. But you're gonna see um how the project will be duplicated in a bit. Okay,
We
so
can chill out a bit, if it's 5 minutes. So
yep, for sure.
let
So
us know what your biggest questions are. But yeah, go ahead, man.
yeah, I'm gonna I'll put the code in here so people can grab it.
Let us know in the comments below if you've enjoyed this show, or even if you've enjoyed the other previous shows. But we also want to get your feedback. What is it? What kind of automation do you want to learn? Maybe when it comes to growing your agency, what are your biggest burning questions that we can eventually, create shows for in the future? Because that's the whole purpose of this group. We want to give you the most value. We are invested in your success, which is why we show up every single week with our posts, with our videos, with our shows, with our content. So you guys can just, skip ahead of the line, right? And really just, fast track your process. But again, we'll never know, right? We'll never know what you're struggling with unless you let us know. Okay. With that said, we have a couple people that just hopped on here. Patrick, Emmanuel, we're actually at the tail end of this show, but you could always watch the replay. What we actually just did in this show is just automating out the whole project management of running an agency, right? Creating the tasks, making sure that you know exactly what you need to do when you onboard a new client. And it's just a whole lot of fun if you just, go back to the replay here. But with
Sure.
that said, we're just trying to wait, right, for
Yeah, and
the
actually it
actual
went through
task being
already,
duplicated.
but just like
Okay, cool.
finalizing this for everyone. So yeah, so here you go. You can see the duplicated Porfin company, and all the tasks we need to do is right here. And again, we delegate the delegation, and that's it. That's really that's the Zap in itself. Nothing much to it, and yeah, just to help you guys like kick off projects without having to worry about what's next, kind of thing. Yep,
Awesome. I
that's
love
it.
it. I love it. I love it. So, for those that are just hopping on, go ahead and check out the replay for this. If you want to get the actual, like the document that Reina created with the code, with the webhook, with the actual Zap that we built on the show, comment hashtag live or hashtag replay below. So, I will personally send that to you. Even if you comment replay like 6 months from now, and it should be good. But other than that, I think we should be good. We can wrap up this show.
For sure.
If you want to watch our previous show again, go ahead and check out the unit section. We do this every single week, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Next week, I think it's going to be even more exciting, right? Because
Yep.
we've been doing a lot of automation shows, like, in the last 12 episodes. But we want to let you guys know that there's other things, right, outside of automation, and there's like business, building your business, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to be focusing on that on the next show. I think we'll be sharing the one-page strategic plan by
Mm-hmm.
the Rockefeller Habits, right? From the book Scaling Up. And it's an
Yep.
amazing, amazing tool that we use for our higher end clients who are working with us for more than 6 months at a time. And we'll be sharing that tool with you so you can get ultimate clarity on why you're doing your business. What are your future goals? How are you going to align all of your efforts towards that? And we'll be sharing that with you on our next show next week. If you are interested just a
Sure.
little bit with seeing what we do, or maybe with working with us, go ahead and check out agencyrocketfuel.com. They'll give you access to our calendars if you want to speak with me or Reynard or anyone on our team, and we'd be more than happy to just chat with you. Other than that, we should be good. Thank you
Yep.
for supporting our show. And with that, we will see you on the next one.
See you guys. Peace.
Peace out.